The title to this message is But Why Me? These are the words that Moses speaks when he realizes that he's part of what the still speaking God has planned. God says to Moses, I'm sending you to rescue my people. And Moses' response, why me? What makes you think I can do anything? What makes you think I can do a big thing? You know, when I was creating this series, it was my intention to move rather quickly through the Moses story. But alas, I have to practice what I preach. And last week I spent some time talking about a movement versus a moment, and the fact that movements move slowly. And movements require time, they require attention and energy. So just as a movement doesn't move quickly, neither does this Moses story, at least not for me. So while I had a plan to hurry and get to the end, or at least get to the part where the people are in the wilderness, my heart is telling me to slow down. And my spirit, or maybe it's my spirit hearing God calling me to gather all of the juicy morsels and bits of wisdom and take time to feast upon them. I hear the voice of God calling me again and again to take this story and circle back. Practice Sankofa. Move slowly and carefully and chew upon this third chapter of the book of Exodus. It's almost as if God is saying, let's not just read it, let's digest it. And I'm like Moses, I'm saying, why me? I'm a busy woman, I got stuff to do. I want to move on. But alas, I have to practice what I preach. So here we are again. Exodus chapter 3, verses 1 through 10, where God is calling Moses, and God is telling Moses to circle back. God is saying to Moses, you need to go back to that place where you came from. And when Moses realizes that he's actually hearing the voice of God, he hides his face. That's his first response. Moses hears the voice of God and hides his face, which really is kind of humorous. When he hides his face, he can't see, but he can still hear. I think the message there is we can close our eyes, but can we close our ears? After all, the God we serve is the one who is still speaking. So Moses closes his eyes, Moses hides his face, and God continues to speak. And Moses continues to hear. And God is speaking to Moses about what is happening to a different group of people. God is speaking to Moses about what is happening to Moses' people. God is speaking to Moses about what God is observing and hearing back in the land that Moses came from, back home in that place that Moses ran away from. God is hearing and observing the people who rescued, named, and raised Moses. God says to Moses, I am observing the misery of the people in Egypt. I can hear them crying. And God says, they're suffering. And you know what? I can identify with their suffering. so I've come to deliver them. I've got a plan. God says to Moses, I can hear the people's pain. I've come to help them. I've come to pry them loose out of the hands of their oppressors. Come to pry them loose from the grip of Egypt. I've come to bring them up out of the land of oppression. I've come to raise them up off of the ground, out from under the knees, and out from under the chokeholds. Raise them up out of poverty, out of the lack of access to healthy food and healing medicine. I've come to do this, God says, and this is how it's going to get done. I'm sending you. I am sending you to move the ones who are suffering, to move them out of bondage into a land flowing with milk and honey. And God, or Moses answered, but why me? What makes you think I can do anything like that? What makes you think I could go to Pharaoh and say anything that would make a difference? What makes you think I could lead the people out of bondage? God's response is, you might have hidden your face, but you are still hearing. Your eyes might be closed, but your ears are open. You are the one receiving the message.